we get started, I guess the sergeant told you this interview is being recorded, both audio and video play.
Yep.
We're just going to ask you a few questions or talk about today's event and what took place over the Bergmark brand.
Okay.
The address is 8509 82nd Street Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
And you live in...
He lives in 301.
Okay. And who is he?
I can't remember his name because I didn't have enough interactions with him.
Okay. And is a neighbor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Living directly across from you,
Directly
or
across.
upstairs?
Directly across.
Directly across. Okay, so your door's kind of, you open your door and it kind of looks at his door. Okay.
Can you tell us sort of what happened? Early evening hours on what happened with this incident?
Okay, so my wife Nina and I were both watching Netflix, and we heard a noise. And I mean, it didn't sound like a rifle, but it also sounded like it was something that was suspicious. And then we paused, listened, and then I started hearing him scream. And I heard the dog start to bark, and I just went over, like knocking on his door. I was like,
Your dogs or his dogs?
his dogs.
Okay, his dogs.
I was knocking on the door and just saying, hello, hey, can you hear me? And just trying to get his attention. And I kept knocking, and like about 30 seconds later, he eventually opened the door. He was white as all. His face was like unnaturally like white because it looked like he had seen a ghost or something, and he just looked like he was he would that just happened. So I was like, hey, what's going on? And he said my wife was cleaning the rifle and from, I guess they went hunting, and she was just cleaning the rifle, and I guess they left around, and he just kept saying his wife's name over and over again.
Which was what?
I think I can't remember. I think it's Danielle.
Danielle.
I think that's right.
Okay. So before we go further, we're interviewing Ben A. Bergmark, Bergmark. His birthday is. What do you do for a living?
I work for the United States Army.
Okay.
What unit are you in?
56th Army Band.
Okay. And how long have you lived at your current address?
Since April.
Of this year?
Yes.
Okay. You say you didn't know your neighbor that well.
No.
Do you know what he does for a living?
He works for the Army.
He's in the Army as well?
Mm-hmm. I think it's Striker Battalion.
Okay. So when you heard the noise, you went over, you said you opened the door, looked like he had seen a ghost, he was white. Did he have blood on him at all?
No, not at that time.
Okay.
He went back. What he did was he was walking around his living room. He was like very crazy. He couldn't stop, and he went back into the room, and I saw him. I asked him, "Is she all right? Is she breathing? Is she okay?" And he said she's not breathing. She's dead. She's dead. And one of the times he came back, and
were you inside the apartment? Or
I was right at the door.
Like in the doorway or out the doorway or in
like right at the doorway. I wasn't in his house.
You weren't like in the living room or anything?
I think I went in the living room to try to have him sit down, because at one time he's like, I'm gonna kill myself. I was like, you gotta sit down and you gotta relax. You can't do that. So I tried to be with him the entire time. I told my wife to call 911, and then I told the Dills, who are the two other people out there, to call 911 as well.
Do you know what time you heard the sound? What was the sound? Was it like a bark? Was it a pop? Was it a?
It was a pop.
Okay.
It was like a silenced like pop. It wasn't like
It wasn't like a loud boom, but it was like.
Well, you heard rifle fire before.
Yeah. I just went to the range last week, so
Yeah.
I'm wearing ear pro in, but that was actually softer than like when I had my ear pro in shooting a rifle.
Do you know what time?
I don't. I just was reacting.
Okay. Before the pop, did you hear any argument? Anything at all?
No, nothing at all. Nope.
Did you see them at all today?
No,
Before
I didn't
that?
see them around
No.
today.
You heard any arguments or anything in the past?
We've heard like loud arguments before. It was, I think one was like talking about like getting like it was like shopping or something. It was like they were having like an argument about like I guess like purchases, but they went on vacation, and that was like a couple of months ago. Was the last argument that I had heard, like that my wife and I.
But you heard verbal exchanges between the two?
Yes.
But nothing domestic related?
No, nothing domestic at all.
No physical stuff you've seen?
No. Even like with him being a striker, you would think like maybe he might have bruises from work, but I've never seen him with bruises from work.
Have you ever seen her outside of today?
Yes.
Yeah. The internet interactions with her?
They have 2 dogs, and my wife and I like dogs, so we've always petted their dogs. But that's like, I mean, I've had like small talk here and there, like just to talk to them.
Were they living there before you guys moved in?
Yes.
So when you were in the apartment, he said he was going to kill himself. What was his? Obviously, he was rattled.
Mm-hmm.
Just making incoherent statements, or
I think he was just making incoherent statements because I just think he was at a loss because his wife. I think it was pretty sudden, like with that automatic or the accidental discharge. I don't know if there was any time where she was like alive after that shot went through her.
he said, "I'm sorry."
Did he tell you where she shot herself? Or?
No, not at all.
Okay. He just told you that she shot herself, cleaning the hunting rifle.
Yep.
Now, when you were in the apartment, did you see any weapons at all?
I did not see any rifles, but they have mentioned that they moved gun cases before in the past, so I knew that they had weapons. I just didn't know that they.
You said the first time you see him, he had blood on him. When was the second time you saw him? He may have had blood on him.
I think it was just like I can't remember the exact time because he was going in and out a lot of times because
Into the back room?
in and out of his apartment, and I was trying to communicate with the Dills and also with my wife and just trying to update information that they were asking.
And where was your wife at during this time?
My wife was in our doorway.
So that the doors face each other?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you could see into the apartment a little bit.
When you said he was pacing around back and forth, was he going back out of sight and coming back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I know you mentioned he sat down, or you had him sit down.
I had him sit down, and then he got up right away.
Okay.
I mean, I tried to calm him down as much as I could.
Yeah. I mean, you said he saw a ghost, and did he seem like hysterical, or like what was your? I mean, how would you describe like how he appeared to be? You know,
He just seems to have
like angry, sad, distraught. You know, like
distraught. I think. I mean, as an army person, like I think that we deal with, especially him in particular being like a striker, he probably sees a lot of combat. But like when it comes to like home, like he doesn't expect combat to be coming from home, and like seeing his wife like that, I think that was overwhelming him.
So he's just shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Was he crying at all?
I think he was so shocked that he wasn't crying. I think there were lots of times where he was I don't know if there were tears necessarily coming down, but it sounded like he was like crying.
So you tell your wife to call 911, and you're talking with him. For how long do you think it was that he was, before you had a first responder respond?
Less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes. Okay. Was it the police? Was it the fire department? Or was it?
It was a police
department. Okay.
When the police showed up, what did they do right away? They contact him?
I wasn't. I came down so I could flag them and bring them over, and I didn't have an official site on where he was. So the police didn't have an accounted site for where he was. So they went in just in case with their weapons, and then there was an accounted site, and then they handcuffed him right away. Just.
Where did you see where he was? Was he like in the
stairwell? He was down in the bottom of the stairwell.
Oh, so he wasn't in the apartment.
No, he had come down because I guess we had somebody called for him to come down.
And you say, so the Bergmark ground, I believe it's like the first floor is the ones, like 101 and 102, or is it?
First floor is the bottom floor, is 101 and 102, and then it's
201 and 202. So you guys are on the third floor.
Yes.
So he was completely out of the apartment, always downstairs on the bottom floor.
No, he had come down to like because it's kind of weird, like you have to go downstairs to go into the 101, so there's like even.
Yeah, you gotta go below the road.
So he was like right next to the parking area. He had come down.
Okay.
Now, when he said she was cleaning around, did he say anything? It was an accident, or I did an accident, or just she was cleaning a rifle and shot herself?
That's all that he said about that. He didn't say anything about I.
He just said it was an accident. She shot herself. She shot herself.
Did he describe the rifle? Did he? He said she shot herself. Did he say hunting rifle, or did he say rifle?
He said he said like it was a rifle, but they were like cleaning it from hunting. So I was assuming it was a hunting rifle.
Okay. So he said she shot herself cleaning the rifle. He just assumed it was hunting. He didn't say where she shot herself?
Nope.
I think I asked that already.
It's all good.
No, it's gonna get repetitive sometimes. And you don't know his name. You don't know. You've never hung out outside work, anything other than that. You guys haven't. So there's no relationship that you have other than neighborly. Hey, how's it
Neighborly
going?
talk. Yeah.
You ever seen him upset or mad in the past?
I've never seen
Having a
him
bad
upset.
day? Did you notice any alcohol bottles or cans in the apartment when you went into there?
I didn't notice it. It was really clean.
Okay.
When I had a look around, and I assumed since the only light that was on other than the living room light was the first room on the left, and I assumed that she was in there, so she wasn't out in the middle, so I didn't see anything at all. And it wasn't my like he had already said that she's not breathing or moving, so I was like, I wasn't going to go interact or see her that because he was like, you don't want to see her and she's dead, and I was like, okay.
So he told you don't want to go see her?
Yeah.
Okay. But he didn't tell you where she was shot? Could you tell, did he appear to be under the influence of anything, alcohol?
It didn't appear at all.
Didn't smell alcohol?
Nope.
Oh.
So you never went like inside the apartment. You didn't see anybody leaving. Between the sound of the pop and the time it took you to go to the door, how long do you think was that?
It was about like 5 seconds because I heard it. Pause.
Muted it.
Pause. Muted
Heard
it.
it screaming.
Opened the door before I heard the screaming.
Okay. So not that long. You didn't see any of the door slamming. Nobody leaving.
Nobody was leaving or entering. I was the first one to interact with the door.
Okay.
No rounds came through your apartment?
Yeah. And just one popped, right?
You said it sounded muffled? Like it could have been covered up? The rifles are loud.
Yeah.
And if nobody has ear protection in, it's going to sound loud whether it sounds muffled or not, but you can definitely tell when something's muffled, like if a pillow was put over something or a blanket or a towel. Does it sound muffled like that?
It just didn't sound like a normal like rifle sound because like, I mean, I am sometimes around weapons, and I like even with ear pro, like the rifle's louder than with that rifle was like it really did sound like it was muffled or something.
Okay.
You said that you assumed they'd come back from hunting because they were just cleaning a rifle. Have you seen him like in hunting?
I've never seen
carrying
him.
Rifles, anything like that? You've never seen him carrying rifles or anything? Would you take him to be like a hunter?
No, because I've never seen him with a hunting rifle or with the camo gear either.
But you've seen him in passing, and at least that point to where if maybe he's got some camouflage somewhere or something. He's walking out with some.
Well, I was only assuming like since she said that like that they had to carry their huge gun case from like one apartment to the other because they had moved to that apartment complex initially, and then they had to move. So I knew that they had weapons. I just didn't know what they used them for.
But you've never seen them. They just what they said.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, I think we're probably good.
He didn't make no other utterances that, other than she's dead. I think she's dead. She's not breathing. It was an
You
accident.
don't want to go back there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did he try to step in front of you to prevent you from going back there, or he just you don't want to go see that?
He
Or you don't go back there?
he didn't step in front of me. He just said that.
So in between that, you said the first time he didn't have blood on him. You said he went back several times.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came out. Then he had blood on him.
Mm-hmm. Because I think he tried to pick her up, or like I don't know, like. I don't know if
Where you say you had blood on him? Like, was it like on his hands?
it was on his hand.
Was he covered in it?
He wasn't covered in
Okay.
it. It was like on like he was wearing a white shirt, so yeah, the blood. Like I think it was on his arm, like a little bit. There was like a little bit on his arm, and then there was a little bit on his shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's after. So initially you saw him. There was no blood.
There was
on
no
him
blood at all.
at all. And then,
I think he was probably in the other room because the TV was on.
Mhm.
And he was probably watching TV, and she was just cleaning.
Okay.
And the deals, you said, where were they at? Where did they stay at?
So I was interacting with him, and I told my wife to call 911, and she was on the phone. And then I saw somebody else, and I was like, "Hey, can you call 911 as well?" And they called 911, and then while they were on the phone, I tried to bring him out of the apartment as much as I could. I had him on the middle level. And then I went down and talked on the Dill's phone because they were wanting more information from me because I was the one that told them to call 911.
Yeah.
And all this time, is he yelling for his wife, or is he saying her name?
He was, yes, he was, and my wife also said that he like curled up in a fetal position, like right next to her, when she was on the phone, like during, and when I was down.
Oh, next to your wife?
Yes, next to my wife.
Okay.
Well, that's
So
probably.
he left so when you went downstairs, he came out of the apartment, and obviously, did your wife didn't go into the apartment, or
No,
okay,
she
so
didn't.
he came out and cuddled at the feet. Okay, so she didn't go in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Probably gonna be it. If we need more information, the detectives leading the case will probably contact you. What's a good phone number for you?
815-484-3443.
And you don't know if you're 301 or 302?
I think I'm 302.
All right.
I know my wife will be able to.
Sure.
Time is now 20:02, and this will conclude our interview with Ben Bergmark
You say that right?
Yeah.
All right.
on October 16, 2014 at the Lakewood Police Department. Pete stuff off. What's your wife's name?
Nina?
Nina?
Yes. Nina.
What's her middle name?
You good? You're good?
Yeah.
04-23-1987.
Yeah, you guys live in the same apartment?
Yes.
The Dills, do they live in the same apartment or same stairwell?
They live in I think 102. So they live on the first floor.
Very bottom.
Mm.
Okay. Back it off. Okay, talk to you. I guess you get out of here if you can. I need to give us a few minutes and we'll bring her back in just a minute.